Truly a historical moment for you TNA wrestling fans. This was a moment where you want to talk about a very solid event, a very hands-down, very well-executed, polished-off pay-per-view. It is the WrestleMania of WrestleManias for TNA, as Bound for Glory only comes once a year. It is truly an event where the wrestlers get to shine. It's the RCWR post show covering the fallout from TNA Bound for Glory with fan reactions. The RCWR post show begins right now.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And we welcome you on October 14th, 2012. This is the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you all for checking out the RCWR post show, coming at you live right now on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinityoneproductions.com. We have a very solid post show for you all tonight, as we're going to be covering the TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view. If you are not able to see this pay-per-view tonight, you need to slap yourself silly and ask yourself, why did you not order this pay-per-view? Because you missed, hands down, a very well-put pay-per-view, without a doubt, highly executed, one of the best pay-per-views I've seen from TNA this calendar year. It is without a doubt up there in the top three. And we want to, for certain, cover the fallout in case you might have not been able to order the pay-per-view. I know there were some of you out there that we had the opportunity of communicating with earlier in the day, all this weekend, actually, asking if you were going to be checking out the pay-per-view. I know a lot of you were actually saying you were going to try to watch it via stream. Don't be a cheapskate. This is the TNA version of WrestleMania. Come up out those pockets. You can catch the replay right now. Or if you're a little bit on the fence, that's fine. Just kick back, relax. We're going to cover everything that you had missed on the show. You know, you can always interact with us in our chat room right now. That's up on Blog Talk Radio. Feel free to jump on in there. We got David Parks that's in there. We got Philip Boom that's in there as always. We got I Love TNA Wrestling in there as always. Feel free to jump on in there right now. Of course, we'll also be opening up the phone lines, and we're going to do something entirely different. As normally we dedicate the last 15, 25 minutes of the show to taking calls, we're going to do something a little different because the pay-per-view did go off early over here on the East Coast side. So it's 11:04 right now. We know those of you probably got to go to school in the morning. Those of you probably got to go to work in the morning, got classes, what have you. Hey, it's all good. We're going to actually switch it up a little bit, and we'll actually take calls in between giving the results for each match. So you won't actually be waiting on hold that long. So feel free to jump on in there whenever you get a free moment. Just try to have your thoughts already be prepared and try not to jump ahead, because I want to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible for those that may not have been able to watch the entire pay-per-view. I don't want you coming on and talking about the results. You can talk about how you liked a particular match or two, but don't give the results as far as the winners just yet. Let us put all the information out there. That's the best way we should do it tonight. So without a doubt, we will take your calls in between giving the results. So FYI, make sure that you're on point. You try to have what you want to talk about be as spoiler-free as possible unless we've already covered it. You can interact with us right now on Twitter, and we've been interacting with a good number of you all throughout this weekend, gearing up for the 8th annual Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Mad shout-out to all of you that we had interacted with this weekend. You can interact with us during the course of this live episode. Hit us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. You can also hit us up on Facebook at InfinityOneProductions.com. We did a lot of multitasking tonight. We were interactive in the chat room, giving results, giving updates to those that just happened to stumble upon our chat room. So those of you that had stuck your head in there briefly, mad shout out to you. We also have posted the results up on our website, where we did a little bit of tweaking this time around as far as how we rated each particular match. So hop on over there, check that out while you get a chance as you're checking out this post show. So let's go on ahead and let's just jump right into it right now. I want to cover just a little bit of what had happened within the first two matches, and then we'll squeeze in a call here. You know, without a doubt, we got to first talk about the countdown to Bound for Glory before the actual pay-per-view had came on, as it had aired on Spike TV earlier tonight, just 1 hour prior to the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. And I must say, of all the pre-shows that I have seen over the years from different wrestling promotions, I have to say, hands down, TNA, they did a superb job executing this pre-show. I love the fact that it was live. I love how they were showing us what all was happening in the arena as fans were just slowly beginning to come in. I love how it was just so really interactive, as we the fans, we the viewers, we were given the opportunity to vote for a match that has never aired on Spike TV before. Now, the winner of that would actually be the Austin Aries versus Robert Roode from Destination X, where Austin Aries had became the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. That was without a doubt a fantastic pay-per-view right there. If you weren't able to check that out, highly recommend you go order that on DVD. It should be available now. That was a classic matchup. But I was just paying very close attention to the way Spike TV, Impact Wrestling had put together this pre-show, and it just left me with that feeling of, man, this is how you sell a pay-per-view. This is how you want to go forward for TNA. I'm just seeing these little big bright spots as far as a future that TNA has. I don't know if you all were picking up that same vibe, but it was a well put together show that just had me saying to myself, you know what, this was such a success. I'm very curious to see how it does in the ratings, because if it's that much of a strong, if it has that much of a strong impact, I would love to see TNA Wrestling try to work out some type of a deal with Spike TV where they would be able to continue to do more pre-shows, as this really set the tone. It had you feel invested into the pay-per-view. I love how they just recapped all the matches. It's something when you look at from other companies that really just doesn't, they don't execute it that well. I'm just taking a couple of bullet points here, and I'm saying to myself, man, this is how you do it. This is how you make it be very engaging. If you all were not able to see that pre-show, hey, some of you might have been under the impression it was just going to be a bunch of pre-recorded stuff. Well, out of 100%, maybe about 40% was pre-recorded stuff, but it was so real time, especially with the folks that they were interviewing, and I just love how brilliant they executed the final few moments. I believe it was the last 10 minutes of the pre-show where they had Jeremy Borash talking with Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan just coming out there and going, well, let me tell you something, Jeremy Borash. I love how he just went all out there with JB, because it just seemed like we were watching a Mean Gene Okerlund and Hulk Hogan interview right here. And it just really had me thinking back to when I was a little kid in the 80s and I was just watching Hulk Hogan cut a pretty damn good solid promo. I love how they squeezed Hulk Hogan in there in the last 10 minutes to really sell those Bound for Glory pay-per-view buys there. Truly great touch right there, something that we've never seen before. As long as TNA has been doing their backstage pass, as long as they've been doing their little pre-show, because usually they do a 30-minute, 15-minute pre-show before the pay-per-view, but they've never done one this well-produced on this grand of a stage of them all, and to have Hulk Hogan be involved in there, truly a great moment. Of course, we also got an appearance from the TNA World Heavyweight Champion within the final minutes before the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, as he guaranteed that someone was going to be exposed as a failure and that it was not going to be him. It was, in fact, going to be the Enigma One himself, Jeff Hardy, as his message to Jeff Hardy was, your ass is mine. So that set the tone for the pay-per-view. And the first match that we saw after a very solid intro there, where they had these direct quotes, which was just really freaking awesome, as it said, the greater the difficulty, the greater the glory. Glory gives itself to those who dream of her. No guts, no glory. Nice little tie-in, as all the wrestlers were talking about how they're bound for glory. They were sharing their bound for glory moments. Nice solid opening right there. Of all the matches to begin the pay-per-view, we saw Zema Ion take on Rob Van Dam for the X Division Championship. A lot of disgruntled people were looking at this when it was first announced on Impact Wrestling, and they said to themselves, how in the blue hell can Rob Van Dam just be handed a match, any type of match he wants, and in this case it was for the X Division Championship. Meanwhile, we see guys like Jeff Hardy, James Storm, Bully Ray. We see all these guys enter the Bound for Glory series trying to earn a Covenant spot to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And we see RVD is just so good buddy chums with Hulk Hogan that he is able to get any match he wants. And in this case, it was Zema Ion versus Rob Van Dam. Truly a great fucking solid way to open up the pay-per-view, as these two guys, they were just really all out there. I was more impressed with Zema Ion. I already knew what RVD was capable of. For me, I was paying more closely attention to Zema Ion and what all he was going to be bringing. And the young kid, he brought his A game. I was damn impressed with this kid. He was really shining right here. He was doing moves. He had his high spots. He was just really working the crowd over. Though the crowd, they kind of hated him a little bit here. They, for certainty, gave him his props when he was making his high spots. Of course, this crowd was just freaking insane. I can't stress that enough, and I'm not going to be just mentioning it this one time, as the crowd in Phoenix, Arizona was just off the chain hot. They were really, I swear, these were some hardcore wrestling fans. Some of you had asked, are these really American wrestling fans? They kind of come off as if maybe they're from Britain or something. I was kind of picking up that same vibe too, but no, that was an American crowd, y'all. This was truly a fantastic match right here. Now, unfortunately, and this may come as a little bit of a shock to some people that were not able to watch this pay-per-view, we unfortunately saw Zema Ion lose the X Division Championship. That's right. Rob Van Dam is the new X Division Champion. And a lot of people were looking at this and they said to themselves, okay, why in the blue hell did Rob Van Dam pick up the championship? This makes no sense. Other people, they were just happy to see Zema Ion lose the championship just cause. Now, we have some people that will sit up and they'll say they don't like the Zema Ion character because he comes off a bit flamboyant. He comes off very feminine. I think those of you that are really looking at that whole feminine route and you're kind of going as far as to question somebody's sexuality, I think you're overanalyzing Zema Ion's character just a little bit too much here. His character is a nice little throwback to guys like Rick the Body Montel. He's a nice throwback to Rick Rude. He's a nice throwback to all those pretty boys that don't like getting messed up in the ring. He's a nice throwback to the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. He's that kind of a nice little throwback. So if you can't really appreciate a modified version of an old school type of wrestler, then yeah, you probably won't really get the Zema Ion character. So I just wanted to really put that out there because I'm getting really sick and tired of hearing people talk about Zema Ion, his sexuality. You're overanalyzing it too much. If he makes you feel that uncomfortable, then maybe you should just flip the channel whenever he comes on. But to say the least, this kid, truly phenomenal. I've been a Zema Ion fan ever since he first came into TNA. I love the guy. My only complaint has always been for Zema Ion to just get more spotlight. So for me, I was without a doubt disappointed in seeing Zema Ion lose to Rob Van Dam, as I just felt that Zema Ion, he was finally starting to build some type of momentum here, especially since 2013 is around the corner. Jesse Sorensen's getting ready to pop up. I'm already looking for that big money feud right there. And to see Rob Van Dam just literally come out of nowhere and pick up the win, I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself here, okay, TNA, you just buried a young guy right here as Rob Van Dam. I mean, he was able to beat this kid with a 5-star frog splash and just was able to pin him 1, 2, 3 clean in the middle of the ring. So you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, we really don't have anything going forward from this. There's really not that much of a way Zema Ion can kind of really get back into this contest. Will he invoke that rematch clause? Well, I would think so. But just the way that they did him tonight, I was really scratching my head and questioning big time TNA's booking on this one. Let's go on with the second match here, and then I want to go on ahead and I want to squeeze a caller. So those of you that are on hold right now, once again, if you're joining us in progress right now, I want for you guys to have your comments, have your questions, already be prepared. Try to keep it spoiler-free because so far we're only getting up to the second match right now. You can talk about the entire pay-per-view. I just don't want you guys to sit up and talk about who all won just yet because we're trying to make sure we show love to those that were not able to see the pay-per-view. Now, if you're in the chat room right now, you can just have fun. You can talk about whoever won, all that good stuff, but I just want to keep it kind of spoiler-free till we have all the matches covered. Let's go to Samoa Joe, as he took on Magnus for the television championship. This match right here, I've been watching Magnus for a good couple of years now, really ever since he came into TNA, and I was really, really fucking impressed with the performance that he had tonight against Samoa Joe. He was doing things in the ring that for a big man, and he's a pretty big dude, I didn't know he was so flexible. I did not know he was so agile. I mean, he was doing things in that ring that just had me do a double take, and I actually rewind a couple of times because I'm like, wow, he's doing all this. And, you know, it just goes back to what was said about him a couple of weeks ago, and I believe it was Hulk Hogan that might have mentioned his name. As someone in TNA, they said, you know, I would love to see Magnus really move up the card and get that main event scene. He seems like he's the next big thing that's going to happen for TNA. And I was really impressed with his performance tonight. He showed signs to me that he is ready for the big leagues, that he is ready for the main event scene. Now, does that mean he gets put into it off the break? No, I think it needs to be a gradual reel into it. But tonight against Samoa Joe, he looked damn impressive. But in neither case right here, I could praise this guy all I want. the W's and the L's, that's what matters most. And on the biggest stage of them all, Magnus was not able to get the job done as Samoa Joe owned him to retain his television championship. Once again, we saw that mean streak coming from the Samoan Machine as he had applied that trademark rear-naked chokehold to Magnus to make him tap out. He was looking for that submission maneuver a couple of times in this match, but Magnus, having been tagged with Samoa Joe several months ago, they were former tag team champions, scouted Samoa Joe's moves very well. He knew what to expect, but when it was all said and done, he wasn't that good with his scouting as Joe was able to out-scout him. So very fantastic bout right here. Let's go on ahead now and let's squeeze in a call, and then we'll go on ahead and we'll cover the rest of the match tonight. The number to call, for those of you that want to jump on in on this, feel free to jump on in. Call us right now at 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. New callers, when you come onto the air, let us know your first name. Let us know where you're calling from, and then proceed with your comment or your question. Now, I should let you know, for those of you that are calling, blocking your number, there's really no reason for you to block your number. So I see we have one caller from the 111 area code. Unfortunately, I'm not going to take your call right now. Call back, unblock your number, and we'll take your call live on the air. Or if you like, if you have Twitter, Facebook, you're in front of a computer right now, you can actually go on ahead and you can just hit us up on Infinity One Prod or jump in the chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show. And we'll go on ahead and we'll take your comment or your question right there. But for now, let's go to our good buddy Dave in the Michigan area. Dave, you're live on air, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good, bro.
Man, I mean, the one thing I really want to talk about, I can't simply, there's two things, but it's kind of hard, the shocking that he's still in TNA. I mean, TNA just, wow, none of us saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, to talk about the Ion match, I mean, I was really disappointed because I was like, you've done all this work for this kid. I mean, Destination X, he won it. He's won all these matches. Mm-hmm. And for him to get a win over RVD would have been huge for his career.
Without a doubt, yeah.
And then they just do that to him. RVD does not need, he's almost on his way out anyway. Why does he need to be the X Division champion? You know, it's like, man, it was really disappointing.
Dave, let me ask you real quick though, not to cut you off. Let me ask you, and let me ask those of you in the chat room. I'm curious because I'm having a hard time remembering here. Is this the first time that RVD has held the X Division championship, or he's been X Division champion before?
I think that's it, because I know he was the world champion, and then he got bloodied by Abyss, and then he was out for a while. But I don't think he's ever had any other title.
Wow.
I think that's it.
Wow.
That's
shocking.
I'm just like, I don't agree with it. I mean, because unless they just wanted, it seems like this was all about making all the fans happy. That's what it seems like. Mm-hmm. Let's let all the good guys win. That's pretty much what it seemed like tonight.
Yeah, it really did. It seemed like that. I couldn't agree with you more though. I'm very disappointed with them dropping the ball on Zema Ion. I mean, to just bury him like that. I was expecting, honestly, not for there to be a clean finish to this match for either side. I was expecting a little bit of controversy because I was looking at this and I'm saying to myself, you know what, they're going to have a really good match without a doubt. This could go maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 months here if they do it right, at least 2 months. But for them to just squash it the way that they did, I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we had saw Zema Ion try to call out RVD on a future episode of Open Fight Night, as I think it's about, a week and a half or maybe 2 weeks away. I wouldn't mind seeing the two of these guys lock it up, as I'm just getting this weird vibe right now that this may not be a rematch at the next pay-per-view. Zima could want his title shot on that Open Fight Night edition, get buried again. Then it's kind of like, what's going to happen next for Zima Ion? Dave, stick around. We're going to come back to you in a little bit. We'll go all round trip over here as we'll get overall reaction from you guys that call in on the pay-per-view tonight. So stick around for those of you whose calls we take. And mad shout out to Don from the New York area. He was telling me that the people that might happen to call into the show, they could be using Skype, because that's the set of numbers, that 11111 that pops up. So for that guy that was listening earlier from your 11, if you were accessing the show, you were listening to us on Skype, you're more than welcome to call back in. We're just not really too keen on people that call into the show and we don't know the area code and all that they're calling from. We kind of look at that as a prank call, so we'll be very quick to disregard you. So if you weren't a crank caller, you're more than welcome to call back into the show. Same thing goes for everybody else. If you're listening to this, you checked out the pay-per-view tonight, you want to share your thoughts or comments, call into the show. We'll be sharing your thoughts, your comments live on the air as we're going through the fallout from the TNA Bound for Glory 2012 pay-per-view. Show some love for you guys. 678-478-3525. Once again, that number is, I said 678. I apologize, folks. It's 646-478-3525. So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to mention the next match. We'll talk about that for a little bit. Then we'll go on ahead and we'll bring in another caller, get reactions and all that. All right, so let's talk about the next match that we had on the card here. And I was a bit stunned, like many of you, that this match had came up this early, which was the third match, James Storm taking on Robert Roode in the street fight match. Now, this match right here, I'm looking at this. I must admit, I was a little irritable that it was the third match. I'm saying to myself, wait a minute here. This is supposed to be one of your top two main events of the evening, and you have this as match number 3. And I'm looking at this even more, and I'm saying to myself, so wait a minute, Joey Ryan versus Al Snow is over James Storm and Robert Roode, a street fight match? What the hell is going on here? I tried to just disregard how irritable I was feeling right here, and I just wanted to focus on the match itself. And I got to be brutally honest with you. Street fight match, I heard exactly what Zed was saying as me, Zed. We were interacting with you guys on Twitter during the course of this pay-per-view, and I know Zed, he kind of caught a little bit of heat from a few people on Twitter when he sat up and said, you know what, this James Storm, Robert Roode match has all the greatest potential in the world to be a match of the year candidate for TNA. And, you know, Zed, I got to show you some love, man. I back you up 100% on that. These two guys, they really put on a fucking clinic tonight. These two guys, this was one of the best outings I've seen from them in recent years. I know we've seen them lock up a few times, and for me personally, watching this rivalry between James Storm, Robert Roode, it just seems like every time these two lock up, somehow they're always able to outperform the last time they crossed paths, and this night alone did not disappoint. Even though we had a monkey wrench thrown into this known as King Lawal, or as I love to call him, and I have to say it on tonight's post show, King Mojo Jojo, I really could not focus on him. I'm like, okay, he's in here, he's a special enforcer, who cares? This is really about these two guys. Now, I know some people were looking at this and they were thinking to themselves, is it possible that King Lawal could turn on James Storm and help Robert Roode get a victory. You know, that's one idea that did cross my mind right here, and I did go on record on our match prediction special and say, you know what, Robert Roode, he needs to have a victory right here. There's not really too much else for him to go right now because it just seems like he's been suffering a lot ever since he had lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Austin Aries. He's just been on a down slope. But in this case, we had this match truly, I mean, you want to talk about kendo sticks, thumbtacks, trash can lids, everything was just being thrown into this match. Brutally and bloody match. You couldn't ask for anything more right here. This was without a doubt, and I will back Zed up on this. This was a respectable match of the year candidate for TNA, and I think many of you that have been watching TNA this whole calendar year, I think all of you can agree that when you make that top 5 list of greatest matches in TNA, or you make that top 10 list of greatest matches in TNA for this calendar year, this match between James Storm and Robert Roode does get a honorable mention. Could it be in the top 5? Zed, I know you had that on your top 5 list, buddy. I don't know about top 5. Top 10, yeah. I don't know about being in the top 5, though. But truly a really great match right here. As we saw the Cowboy, James Storm, when it counted the most, we saw him pick up the victory, which now leaves the question, what could possibly be next for the Cowboy James Storm? But more importantly, what could possibly be next for Robert Roode? I would not be surprised if Robert Roode were to try to come out on next episode of Impact Wrestling and try to throw some heat towards King Mo Lao, say that Mo Lao is the reason why he was not able to get the victory over James Storm, to try to begin some type of a feud with him. Now, we're already hearing that King Mo Lao, he's supposedly going to be going on a little bit of a hiatus until maybe January next year, and then he'll be back on a semi-part-time or full-time basis, whatever deal he worked out with TNA to be able to wrestle for them. So I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe Robert Roode were to come out on Thursday's Impact and he was somehow able to figure out a way to get a beat-in on King Mo Lao and maybe have him be taken out for a little bit. King Mo Lao comes back looking for revenge, sets up a program between these two guys. That way it ensures that King Mo Lao is wrestling in ring ready to face Robert Roode, as he's only just begun his wrestling training this month. I know, shocker right here. Let's go on ahead and let's talk about the next match that we had on the card, which saw Joey Ryan take on Al Snow. Now, remember the stipulation right here, folks. If Joey Ryan wins this match, he gets a full-time TNA contract. That's right. He will be a full-time active wrestler. However, if he loses, well, that's it. Because remember, the contract that he ended up signing without knowing it, because he didn't read the fine print, he had a one-time match for tonight against Al Snow. So a lot at stake right here. Win, you get a full-time contract. Don't win, hey, baby, you're done for tonight. So couldn't be set any higher than what we just mentioned right here. You know, one thing that jumps out at me with this match, besides how far up the card it had went, the other thing that jumped out at me was the fans that were chanting to Al Snow, "You still got it, bop, 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 bop. You still got it, bop, 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 bop." And I'm saying to myself, okay, I've been a fan of Al Snow since his days in ECW, WWF, WWE, TNA. Okay, I know this guy always does some stuff on the wrestling indie circuit. He's getting ready to do some stuff with Blizzard Brawl. He usually does some stuff for Shane Douglas' revitalized version of ECW, now known as Extreme Rising. I'm saying to myself, this guy is always making his rounds around the wrestling circuit. Why are these fans sitting up and saying, you still got it? That just didn't make any sense to me. Obviously, these guys that were chanting, you still got it, they must have not got the memo that Al Snow has been wrestling all these years on a part-time, full-time basis. So I just thought that was kind of funny. But let's look at this match right here, and let's be honest here. This match, it was somewhat of a little bit of a snoozer, and it doesn't have anything to do with Al Snow. We know Al Snow, he's kind of gotten a little bit of father time on his side. It's caught up to him a little bit. We go over to Joey Ryan's side. We know everything that this guy is capable of. I know Jimmy Cordeas, WWE referee, he actually had tweeted, and it was so funny. He was tweeting during this match, and he sat up and said, can somebody get Joey Ryan off of my screen because Joey NyQuil Ryan is putting me to sleep. That's exactly what he said. So you're looking at that, and, I must admit, and, I don't like talking bad about Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan, we got to show him love. He's a RCWR family member. He had stopped by our show a couple of months ago, fresh off of his failed attempt at getting a TNA gut check contract. For those of you that might have not checked that out, listen to it on the archives. It was a pretty awesome interview. I don't like talking bad about him, but I must admit I've seen better matches from Joey Ryan, and I think a lot of that, of what we saw tonight, has to do with Al Snow. Now, Joey Ryan, he was bringing his A game, but the match should have been better, and I say it should have been better because who his dance partner was. So with regards to this match, if I were to look at it from a 5-star rating, I would have to give this match a 3 out of 5. Now, I'll follow up on the other matches that we just talked about earlier, and I'll let you know the rating that I gave for those matches. But for Joey Ryan versus Al Snow, and I know that's probably going to upset some guys, especially those of you that are hardcore Joey Ryan fans or hardcore Al Snow fans, 3 out of 5. Now, I did like the shock value that came post-match here, or actually during the match, I should say. As we saw the fight go to the outside, we see Al Snow. He's trying to get back in the ring when just out of nowhere, folks, we see the Blueprint, Matt Morgan, make his return to the grandest stage of them all, and he delivered a big boot to the face of Al Snow before putting him in the ring, and Joey Ryan was able to pick up the scraps, pick up the victory. Joey Ryan gets a full-time TNA contract now. Referee, unfortunately, did not see any of this happen, as during the bout he got taken out. He got bumped into by accident, so he was laid out for a little bit. So he didn't catch anything that had happened here involving Matt Morgan. Post-match is where it really got very eyebrow-raising, as we see Joey Ryan, he's just clambering onto the leg of the Blueprint, Matt Morgan, and we see Joey Ryan extend a handshake. Matt Morgan, he extends the handshake. So apparently these two guys are in cahoots with one another. There is some type of a alliance here with these two guys. A lot of buzz right here. I love the fact that as we're watching Bound for Glory so far, we are just kicking back, seeing all of these matches that's happening. We're seeing the end results, and we're saying to ourselves, what could possibly happen on Thursday's Impact Wrestling? Because this right here, with the return of Matt Morgan, and not too many of us were expecting Matt Morgan to return. I know me personally, I was thinking about it, but I just couldn't figure out where he would fit into the equation. So to see him come out during a Joey Ryan Al Snow match, I'm very curious to know just what exactly Matt Morgan has in store for TNA Wrestling. Now, for those of you that might have not been able to catch the few audibles that he said post-match, Matt Morgan said, tick-tock, time's up. TNA, I told you guys, you screwed me, and now I'm going to screw you. I'm back. That was his message to TNA management. So Matt Morgan right here feeling a little bit hurt, feeling a little bit burned. We have an idea now of what to expect on Thursday's Impact Wrestling. Let's go on ahead now and let's open up the phone lines here. In case you want to kick back and interact with us, you can do so. Kickback, Smile, and Dow, you can hit us up at 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. Listen for those prompts. Get yourself heard live on the air. We'll take your reactions to what all you had liked about tonight's pay-per-view. I know there's some guys that had sent us a few tweets. They wanted to just chime in their overall thoughts of the pay-per-view, but if you happen to have work, school in the morning, it's no problem. We'll show some love to you guys. We can take your thoughts, comments right now as we are doing the post-show live in progress. Nice little switch up for once. We're trying a little bit of an experiment here. Hope you guys appreciate it and you're liking it. If we get enough feedback where it doesn't come off as if it's interfering too much with covering the full fallouts, then this might be something we'll do on a more regular basis for you guys. Let's go ahead now and let's read you some of the tweets that had came in from some of you all that were talking about tonight's pay-per-view. I definitely want to share with you one of the thoughts that had came that we had asked as we had a poll that was up during the course of the pay-per-view where we had asked you, the TNA wrestling fans, what did you think of tonight's Bound for Glory pay-per-view? Now, for those of you that have not voted just yet, feel free to do so right now. Go over to our website at infinityOneProductions.com, and you'll see the little poll that we have up where it's asking, how would you rate the TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view? Your options, you can either say 8 out of 10, great pay-per-view, 10 out of 10, fantastic pay-per-view, 1 out of 10, bad pay-per-view. Why somebody would pick that, they're just trying to be cute. 5 out of 10, average pay-per-view. So feel free to go on ahead and share your thoughts. And actually, before we go off the air tonight, we'll let you guys know the results of that. I can tell you so far we have almost 50% of the votes coming in that are giving it a 10 out of 10 fantastic pay-per-view. Thank you to those that had took the time out to vote in that. And, hey, you still have time. Cast your votes. I know I'm casting my vote right now, and I'm not going to share what I just selected, as I'll let you guys know at the end of the night here. Let's pick it up with the fifth match, as we only have 1, 2, 3 more matches to go here. Chavo and Hernandez took on Kurt Angle and AJ Styles and the TNA World Tag Team Champions Daniels and Kazarian, as those tag titles were on the line in a triple threat tag match. I really love this match right here. It's got all of my favorite guys. How can you go wrong, especially for you hardcore TNA wrestling fans? How can you go wrong looking at this match right here? It's got a little bit of something for everybody in this. You really couldn't come away complaining too much about this, although one of the things that I did not like, everybody say it with me now, it's who won, right? Yeah, you know it. Unfortunately, we saw new tag team champions get crowned in Chavo and Hernandez. I know some people are looking at this and they're saying to themselves, is this really the path that TNA wants to go right now? I share those same sentiments, but remember, if you were checking out our Call That Match special, I said, hey, I would love to see Daniels and Kazarian retain because they have been on such a good streak. They have just been so good. They've been making the best out of really crappy storylines. As example, Claire Lynch, they really used that to just catapult them to that next level, I feel. We've seen Kazarian over the course of these past several weeks, going into months, it just seems like he has just been starting to become more comfortable within himself and his mic ability, as really it has been a blessing in disguise to have him be teamed up with Daniels, as he is just radiating with that confidence. He is just radiating more and more each time he steps up to the plate and he cuts a promo, and tonight was no exception, as I really enjoyed the promo that he had cut as he was bashing those that were hitting them up on Twitter, basically mocking them for wanting a tweet, wanting a follow back, wanting all that other stupid crap. I was really loving Kazarian right here, and it actually kind of had me do a double take, because I'm saying to myself, was that Daniels that just talked? Who was that? And it was actually Kazarian. So I'm really loving seeing the pairing of Daniels and Kazarian. I truly was disappointed seeing them get stripped of those titles, as I just am not really sold on Hernandez and Chavo, this newly formed tag team. I just am looking at this. First of all, when I look at Super Mex Hernandez, I'm thinking to myself, dude, you've been a tag team champion so many times. It's freaking ridiculous. When are you going to get that long overdue singles push? It just seemed like maybe about what, guys, 2 years ago? It seemed like maybe we were supposed to have some type of a major push coming from Super Mex Hernandez, but it never happened. It just disappeared, and now we see him going back to the tag division. Chavo Guerrero, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence with Chavo. Maybe you guys can convince me otherwise, but with regards to Chavo Guerrero, I'm kind of looking at it the same way right here. I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed with this match as far as who the winners ended up being. But overall, I thought this match was really fantastic. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars as far as match rating goes. Let's go down to that TNA Knockouts title, where that really had a lot of people, including me, go, huh? As the real story of this, and, you know, you talk about a shocker here. We got to give some love to our boy Don from New York, and he brought up a very valid point when he was on our show Tuesday night. He said, you know, I heard that Tara had signed a new TNA contract. She's going to be around for a little bit longer. Do you think this might have a key role in her match against Tessmacher come Sunday? And, you know, he was on the money here. He was on to something here. As we saw this match, unfortunately, we saw Miss Tessmacher's title reign come to an end. Now, we got some people, they just don't like Tessmacher. I get that. Now, we have other people like me that will look at this, and the first thing we're going to say to ourselves is, well, wait a minute. Miss Tessmacher, she had got the TNA Knockouts title a couple of weeks back on an episode of Impact Wrestling. So you're telling me almost less than a month later she's going to lose the title again? Just what exactly is going on right here? If you are going to be having knockouts drop titles like that and win them back again, then maybe what you really should be doing is focusing on bringing in more knockouts to kind of spread it all out a little bit more. Now, as we said on Thursday's Impact Showdown Radio, TNA management is said to be very close to working out a deal to bring back, let those pigeons loose, Miss Velvet Sky, as her profile is already back up on the TNA company's website. So you're looking at that piece of news, and I know some of you were looking for Velvet Sky to make her return tonight. Sorry to disappoint, but no pigeons did not come loose at tonight's Bound for Glory. But in either case, we're looking at this match right here, and, you know, I'm saying to myself, okay, what exactly are we going to have right here? Great outing But the finish, as unfortunately we had saw Tara become the new Knockouts champion. No disrespect to Tara. Tara is a great athlete. I've been a long-time fan of Tara. I go as far back as her days in WWE. That's how long I've been a fan of hers. She actually reminds me of my friend that had tried very hard to join the cast of WWE's Tough Enough when they had first started. I've said that story before, so those of you that remember that, you know exactly the person I'm talking about. Really awesome girl, but, you know, post-match is where it got really awkward. We see Tara sit up and she says that she couldn't have done any of this without her boo, her boyfriend, her big shot Hollywood boyfriend, her mega Hollywood boyfriend who is more popular and good-looking than Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's time for her to unveil who her boo is. Drum roll, please. He's from Hollywood, California, and the person is not John Morrison. For those of you that thought it was going to be John Morrison, we did put that idea out there. I guess we might be to blame for that, as originally we were one of the first to sit up and say, it's got to be John Morrison. We apologize. But you know what? Give us a little props. At least we tried to be very engaging and we tried to put a little shock value into it. The person that would be revealed to be Tara's boyfriend is a guy named Jesse. So you're probably saying to yourself, Jesse from Jesse and Festus over in the WWE? No, not that Jesse. Jesse Ventura? No, not Jesse Ventura. Jesse, then I don't know. What Jesse are you talking about? Well, the Jesse I'm talking about, folks, is some guy named Jesse that was apparently a contestant on Season 10 of CBS's hit reality show Big Brother, and then he came back for Big Brother 11. Now, I did my homework as soon as I saw this guy. As I pulled a rock move, I said, who in the blue hell is Jesse? And I did my research on this guy. That's what I was able to find out. I was also able to find out that he is an amateur bodybuilder and that he had signed a TNA contract developmental deal a while back as he got sent down to OVW to work out. And that's your backstory. So he's been associated with TNA for a little while now, and I guess upper TNA management, they feel that he is ready to go, and so we now have to deal with Jesse and Tara. And I don't know about you guys, but to say disappointed, I mean, quite honestly, as a man, I don't really particularly care for reality shows like Survivor, Big Brother, The Apprentice. What's those other crappy joints that's out there? The Bachelorette, The Bachelor. I don't care about all that stuff. That's just a little too hardcore for me. X Factor. I don't care about all that stuff. Just give me my damn wrestling. That's all I care about. I'm sure many of you are the same way. So I'm looking at this right here, and I'm wondering to myself off the break, who's going to be wearing the pants in this relationship to really get this guy Jesse over? And I got to be honest, from what we had saw tonight of Jesse, I don't know what TNA was smoking, but I need to see a little bit more because so far I wasn't impressed. I mean, he's got a nice body, don't get me wrong. From what I was able to hear of him talk-wise, which was very brief, he really didn't sell it to me. Maybe we can hear a little bit more from him on Thursday's Impact Wrestling. But in the meantime, yeah, major letdown. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the next match, folks. And a lot of you were very disgruntled at seeing how far up the card it had went, as it was one match before the main event. Those damn aces and eights taking on the team of Sting and Bully Ray. Now, we saw some really great moments in this tag match. First off, I love the fact that Bully Ray came out and he was pushing classic trademark Sting war paint. I mean, these guys just reek to me of the Road Warriors. I'm like, oh, This is awesome. And I'm saying to myself, how badass would it be to see these two guys do the Doomsday Device? Sure enough, we actually did see them do the Doomsday Device. I was really loving it right here. We saw that harmony work between Bully Ray and Sting just as they operated on this past Thursday's Impact Wrestling. These two guys, they were really throwing it down with Aces and Eights. Aces and Eights, they did bring Joseph Park to the arena. They handcuffed him. They tried to pimp slap him a few times. Sting, Bully Ray, they didn't like what they were seeing happen to their good friends, so they started bringing the fight to them. And as I said, eventually we saw them do the Doomsday Device. I mean, it was like watching an old school tag match right here. Of course, the numbers game, it was just too much for Bully Ray and Sting as it just kept piling on. Let's pick it up towards the end. Critical key point, we saw one of the Aces and Eights members, they grabbed Sting as he was trying to set up a table, and they pulled him out the ring, and they proceeded to beat him down. We see this Max guy who is giving us the impression that, okay, this must be the guy from all the weeks of Impact Wrestling that is like the head honcho here. And we see him attack Bully Ray from behind. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he hit Bully Ray with a low blow. Anybody in the chat room, if I'm wrong with that, let me know. And we see him just crush Bully Ray through a table, and just shockingly, we see the other Aces and Eights members, they were able to pick up the pin. So a lot of people, they're looking at it, and they're like, okay, so Aces and Eights, they just won full access to the Impact Arena. What the hell? Now, you could just feel the tension amongst many wrestling fans. If you were watching this pay-per-view and you saw this moment right here, you probably felt that energy, as the Ultimate Warrior likes to say. You can just feel the energy through the heavens above. You could probably feel that general... that sigh, that overgrown sigh from all the TNA wrestling fans as you're looking at this and you're saying, really, this is what Aces and Eights is about on the biggest stage of them all. 1 year anniversary from they're here. This is how it's going to end. We aren't going to know who the hell Aces and Eights are, who the ring man is, nothing. But wait. We see Aces and Eights. They are attacking the hell out of Sting and Bully Ray post-match. Hit the music of Brother. Hulk Hogan comes on down, and he's just standing there as all the Aces and Eights members, they just come in just a nice vertical effect here, or horizontal, whatever line you like to call it. They're just coming at him one by one. Hulk Hogan, he's just knocking him out with that powerful punch from his still a good size 24-inch python bicep. We eventually see Hulk Hogan make his way to the ring. We see him go stand head-to-head with this guy that we're given the impression is the ring leader of the Aces and Eights. Highlight that key words I just said right there, okay? Remember that. And we see Hulk Hogan. He gets into the ring. This guy tries to jump him. Hulk Hogan, he starts having that Hulk up moment, and he just does his trademark delivers those punches, delivers that big boot. Sting follows up. He grabs the guy. Hulk Hogan says, it's time. We need to know who this guy is. They take off the mask. Wait for it. Somebody in the chat room, give me a ... right now. Give me a ... somebody in the chat room. The person that is believed now to be the leader of the Aces and Eights is none other than, and thank you for those dots, say it with me, everybody, 1, 2, 3, Devon Dudley. I shocked the hell out of you guys, didn't I? No, I did not read that in error. That was not a joke. You guys are saying, huh? I'll say it one more time. Devon Dudley is the one that is revealed to be the leader behind those damn Aces and Eights. As we see Bully Ray Sting, the Hulkster, they all look like they just crapped their pants as they are just looking on at Devon Dudley, who sits up and says to them, "You all are idiots. I told you guys, you all are idiots. What now?" And he's just laughing at their face. The crowd, they are just in disbelief. They're in shock. They start trying to work up a chant of "You sold out." This was a moment right here where you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, what the hell did we just witness? Now, Zed, he sat up and said, "Brilliant story writing, brilliant." He caught a little bit of heat. I'm kind of like Zed's big brother here. I usually try to have all the heat come my way. He don't mean no harm. He just likes expressing his thoughts. Doesn't mean he's wrong. He just has that right to express his thoughts, just like all of you, just like me. We have that right to express our thoughts. Now let me chime in on this, because I'm the one that likes to sit up and say I got all these years of writing and I know the thing or two about booking a match and all that other good stuff. Let me chime in my thoughts on this one. I thought that this was a great fucking curveball, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Think about it. Just really think about it here for a second, especially those of you that read that article that I did a couple of months back giving my honorable picks for who I thought was behind Aces and Eights, who the leaders might be. Now, look, we all sat up and said, hey, it could be Eric Bischoff. Then we sat up and said, hey, what if it's Jeff Jarrett? Some of us said, hey, what if it's Matt Morgan? We were just all over the place picking these guys that we thought for certain was going to be behind Aces and Eights. But the one thing that we all agreed upon, even though we got those names messed up, the one thing that we all did agree upon was that when they get ready to reveal who the leader is of the Aces and Eights, it needs to have shock value. It has to be done in a way that just has all of us going, what the fuck? Didn't see that one coming. What the hell just happened here? And you know what? For shock value purposes, they made their mark with this particular segment, and I loved how it was executed. Okay, think about it here. All of us, not one wrestling website, and we can man up because we do a wrestling website too. We can man up. We can say, hey, we never did think about Devon Dudley, as well as many other websites can sit up. Many other wrestling radio shows will sit up and say, you know what, Devon Dudley, good work, good plot twist. They'll sit up and say the same thing. You know why? Just think about it. Last we heard of Devon Dudley, his TNA contract had expired. It looked as if he was not going to be re-signing with the company. He was going to be parting ways. He left still as the television champion. What ended up happening? TNA continued on. They crowned a new television champion. Devon, that's it. The whole time, Bully Ray, he's being a little bit silent. He's not really acknowledging what's been happening with Devon, talking about the unfortunate news of Devon being released by TNA. Really wasn't that vocal about it. And I think when we all look at that in retrospect, that was our first clue right there that we should have taken, that something was up, something was planned. And yes, I'm going to say it was a curveball. You can call it a waffle ball. You can call it a football. You can call it a bowling ball. Either way, it was a nice plot twist. Just think about what was happening with Devon, Bully Ray, not acknowledging what was happening. Think back to what was happening with the Hulkster, him sitting up saying, you know what, I miss Devon, really great employee, would love to work out some type of a deal with him to come back to the organization. I really hope we can work some type of a deal out with him at a later date. Think about when that television championship was crowned, how we were one of the first wrestling radio shows to say, you know what, it really would have been nice to see Devon do a classy thing, TNA work out some type of a deal with him where he could have came back and he could have defended the championship, dropped it to the new person that way. They didn't even go that route. So when you just add up all those little things in retrospect, you kind of had those clues right there that just perhaps TNA was not done with Devon. So now you create a little bit of shock value right here. There's one thing I want to mention before we go further, and I just had to bring up this key point. Those of you that believe that Devon is the leader behind Aces and Eights, and those of you that are looking at this angle and you're crapping upon it, you don't think that Devon is capable, you're not really buying it, just bear with me for a few seconds here, folks. Devon, if you do your homework, Devon is the son of a preacher. Devon has a really great mind from what we're able to hear as far as the different type of business endeavors that he's embarked in, whether it be wrestling or something completely different outside of wrestling. We have also heard that he's done some gospel singing. The man has a really great mind. He is really one of the best when it comes to cutting a pretty decent promo. His in-ring ability, the guy's on point. But, you know, I guess I'm picking up this stigma that some of you don't believe that he could be the leader of Aces and Eights because either he's black or because he just doesn't seem smart enough to be able to do something like that. And I just want you guys to kind of get that stigma out of your head, okay? Now, for those of you that are thinking that Devon is the leader of the Aces and Eights, notice the key words that I said when I was talking about him. I said supposedly, and here's the reason why I said what I said. I want you guys to do me a huge favor, if you don't believe me. I don't think that Devon is the leader of the Aces and Eights because when you backtrack to the episode of Impact Wrestling that aired about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago where we saw the Hulkster and Sting tied up to a chair and they were talking to what was believed to be the boss man as he was described. Notice they showed the back of his head wearing a hat. Notice the pigment of his ears. They were white. That led you to believe that this was a white guy, okay? So I want you to go back, and if you don't believe me, just go back, look up that episode, okay? It had to have been 2-3 weeks ago. You'll see the piece I'm talking about. Freeze it. Look at the back of the guy's head. No time did those ears ever become black, at not one time. So this is a possibility here that we are being thrown a monkey wrench as Devon could be taking orders from somebody else. This could be a case right here where Devon could have either been recruited to the Aces and Eights a long time ago. He's always been a member. This could be a case right here where Devon is second in command as there is still that big boss. So I don't really believe that we're done just yet with this whole Aces and Eights. We may know the identity of one person, but we still don't know the identities of all the key players. I would honestly be shocked if TNA tried to make it be a case where, yes, Devon is the leader. It's all about him. It's been him all along as he proclaims himself to be, because then how do you explain the person that was sitting in that chair talking to the Hulkster and the Stinger and his ears were white? Matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, you could also see the back of his neck, just a little bit, I believe, and it was white as well. So those of you that are kind of looking at this and you're like, nah, it can't be Devon, I want you to hold on to that doubt. Let's see what happens coming up this Thursday night. On that note, let's go ahead now and let's talk about the main event of the evening, which saw the TNA World Heavyweight Championship on the line as Jeff Hardy took on Austin Aries. Isn't it amazing, folks, when you look at this match and you just think about the crowd reaction tonight for this match? That Arizona crowd, they were not feeling Jeff Hardy for worth a damn. And it was one of those type of scenarios where you just got to give them their props, because this was their way of telling TNA, okay, you're telling us to root for Jeff Hardy. You want us to root for Jeff Hardy because he's the babyface. Austin Aries is the bad guy. Man, was this bizarro world right here, because that was not the case. Every single time Jeff Hardy connected with a move, the fans were booing him. Every single time Austin Aries was doing something, they were rooting him on. It was obvious that the fans wanted for Austin Aries to be able to become victorious in this match. They wanted him to remain the TNA champion. Let's cut to the chase. Folks, we got a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and your champion is the Enigma One, Jeff Hardy. And guess what? He got new intro. He got new music video. He came out to a nice, cool-looking helmet. He had everything in his favor tonight. This was really the story of Jeff Hardy, or Jeff Nemo Hardy, whatever that middle name is in there. This was really his night. This was him coming full circle. This was him making his mark of redemption after having a long, difficult journey to win back the respect of his peers and his family. This was the moment right here where Jeff Hardy had just wrote everything wrong that happened during the course of his difficult year and a half, battling demons. Everything was just written off. That's not a word. Written off on this night at Bound for Glory, as Jeff Hardy became the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I think those of you that saw the pay-per-view, if you think about it in retrospect, you knew that we were, without a doubt, going to get a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion when we saw that Austin Aries connected with the Brainbuster DDT. You know, normally that's it. It's lights out. As soon as he kicked out, that was pretty much it. And, you know, we had some people, I actually kind of took a little bit of heat, because there were some people that hit us up on YouTube. They had sent comments to us saying there's no way in hell that Jeff Hardy's going to win. That's crazy. It's not going to happen. Austin Aries is going to retain. Not with everything that was going on with his contract negotiations. TNA trying very hard to play nice with him, try to keep him around. You know, it's unfortunate, I know, but when it's all said and done, you just kind of knew that Jeff Hardy was going to do it. Plus, I want you to think about this other statistic, and this is a statistic that surprisingly Taz and Mike Tenay did not hype up during this match, and it's something that was not hyped up at all during their rivalry, which was Austin Aries has been undefeated at every single TNA pay-per-view since he's made his debut. So you just kind of knew that sooner or later Austin Aries' streak was going to come to an end. And, hey, quite honestly, for it to be on the biggest stage of them all in Phoenix, Arizona tonight, I think that was pretty awesome, folks. But, yeah, it was a fantastic match. Let me go on ahead now. Let me give you a quick rundown of how I personally gave all these matches as far as ratings, match star ratings-wise. And I graded them on a 5-star rating to really help those of you that did not see the pay-per-view, help you determine whether or not you want to check it out. So I'm going to mention this, and then we'll open up the phone lines. We'll go one last round, and then we'll wrap up the show here. So Zema Ion versus RVD, out of 5 stars, I gave that 4 out of 5. Samoa Joe versus Magnus, I gave that 5 out of 5. For me, that was one of 2 of the best matches of the night. James Storm versus Bobby Roode, I gave that a 5 out of 5. Joey Ryan versus Al Snow. Now, just the match itself, I gave that a 3 out of 5. With Matt Morgan playing into the mix, I boosted it up just a little bit. I gave it an overall 4 out of 5. Chavo and Hernandez, versus Kurt Angle, AJ Styles versus Daniels, Kazarian. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. I would have gave that a 5 out of 5 if Daniels and Kazarian would have retained. That was my only gripe with that. I'm not really too keen on Chavo and Hernandez right now as the tag champions. Tara versus Tessmacher. This one was a little tough. I went on ahead and I gave this one match-wise just by itself. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 for the so-called shock value that was supposed to come post-match. I didn't like that at all one bit. I gave that a 2 out of 5. So overall rating for Tara versus Tessmacher, I just went on ahead and just gave that an average 3 out of 5 stars. For Aces and Eights, taking on Sting and Bully Ray for the match itself, decent contest. I gave that a 3 out of 5 for the shock value that came at the end of the match. Now, I looked at just the shock value alone as Devon was revealed to be the so-called Aces and Eights leader. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. So I combined the two. I went on ahead and I just gave it an overall rating of 4 out of 5. And for Jeff Hardy versus Austin Aries, this match alone right here, I gave this one a 4 out of 5. And I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was a tough one. I wanted to give it a 5 out of 5. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 because I just knew deep within, just as soon as I saw this match was official at Bound for Glory, where Jeff Hardy officially became the number one contender, I just looked at this and said to myself, okay, you know what? Jeff Hardy's going to be the new champion whether we like it or not. I would have loved for the shock value to see Austin Aries somehow be able to retain. Fantastic match nonetheless, 4 out of 5. So, that gives you an idea of how each match was. So if you weren't able to check this out, catch the replay all week. Make sure that you order it on DVD, make sure that you buy it on DVD, as without a doubt, they're going to have some pretty nice bonus content that's going to be included. As we had saw little bits and pieces during the Bound for Glory countdown, as well as during the actual pay-per-view itself, we had got a little bit of a snippet or two of what all had happened with Sting being inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame, and it was truly a great moment. I'm very confident, there's no doubt that TNA, they know that they're going to be able to make some really good money off of that Sting induction ceremony. I would be shocked if they did not put that on the Bound for Glory DVD. So make sure you bookmark us. You heard it here first. We are going out there and predicting that Hall of Fame induction is going to be on the Bound for Glory DVD. Like I said, if it's not, that would really be a overwhelming shocker, as really that would be a nice piece of a collectible. And for Don from New York, what happened with the Tara Tessmacher match? Did I actually skip that? I don't believe I did skip that. You want to go back and you rewind, because I actually had rated that in a 2-system scale. I gave the match itself, I believe, a 3 out of 5, I think. And then post-match with the guy coming out being Jesse, I said that shock value itself, that was like a 2 out of 5. So I ended up just averaging that out to like a 3 out of 5 or something like that. Just rewind. I did mention it before. Let's go ahead. Let's go one more round, get you all's reactions before we wrap up the show for tonight. Thank those of you that are staying up late with us right now, as it's now October 15th. 2012 on the RCWR Post Show. One more time, let's go another round with you, the callers. Kick back, hit us up right now at 6. Watch this, I'm going to forget the number again. No, I'm not. 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. One more time, we going now. Let's go on ahead. I believe we got Homie on the line. You live on there, my friend?
Yo, what's up, Lee?
Hey, what's up, bro? How you been?
Can't complain. I'm not a real big TNA fan, but tonight the pay-per-view was pretty fucking fantastic. Maybe minus maybe little nitpicks here and there, but I enjoyed it. I was surprised I enjoyed it as much as I did.
And what was some of your favorite matches overall?
I thought the Roode and Storm match was the match of the night. It was just bloody. It was just a whole-out brawl. I really enjoyed that. The only thing is the King Mo thing, it wasn't needed. He didn't even get involved at all. I just thought it was just for him to throw in, maybe to get some MMA fans to order the pay-per-view. That match was great. That match was fantastic. The tag match was great, too. I didn't enjoy the ending. I didn't enjoy the Chavo and Hernandez winning the belt. But I thought some of the spots they did in that match were pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
The nitpicks I didn't like was the Joey Ryan match. I agree with you. I think Al Snow is the one who put that match down. I've seen Joey Ryan in his independent shows, and he's a lot better than what we saw tonight.
Without a doubt, yeah.
And the Jesse thing, I mean, I didn't know who the hell that guy was. I don't think a lot of people knew who that was. And also the Aces and Eights with Hogan, I mean, he took out everyone with ease. I mean, come on. I mean, he had to look strong at the end of the night. That's what kind of pissed me off. But other than that, I thought the pay-per-view was pretty good.
Yeah, so overall, scale of 1 to 10, what would you get a pay-per-view?
I'd give it a 9.
A 9?
A solid 9.
That's pretty good. I like that. Homie, thank you as always. We appreciate that. We're going to go one more round. We're going to go with Dave, get his overall thoughts. I see a couple of new callers that called into the show. I know some of you want to just listen. That's cool. But if you did see the pay-per-view, this is your time right now. Press that option and get yourself heard live on the air, and we definitely want to hear what you thought of the pay-per-view while we're still on. Number to call, 646-478-3525. We got a few more minutes left, 9 minutes to be exact. You can jump on in, share your thoughts on the pay-per-view. Meantime, let's go one more round. So, Dave, what was your overall thoughts of the pay-per-view, bro?
Man, it was a good pay-per-view. I mean, you can't knock TNA tonight, except for a few things. Now, I guess you say something about Devon. I mean, I don't think he's a leader. Could he be a leader? Yeah, I mean, of course. We all followed Devon his whole career, ECW, WWE, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the thing I like about it is how they did it. They unveiled, like you even said, no one suspected Devon to be an Aces and Eights. And what I take from it is that Devon was ready to leave TNA and like, okay, Devon, if you stay, we're going to put you in the major storyline with this Aces and Eights thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what got him to stay. And the genius, they were TNA. I got to give the writing team, I mean, hats off to them for the whole Morgan thing as well. Mm-hmm. These guys all had us believing, taking pictures with his WE shirts on and everything, all had us believing that they're done with TNA, they're gone. And I was just like, wow, I believe they were gone too.
Yeah.
I give it up to TNA for that.
Yeah. Now, did you have a slight did you ever have a slight disappointing moment during the pay-per-view that you kind of looked at and said, you know what, I don't really like how this is playing out, or did you find the whole card?
Yes, I did. Besides the RVD thing, I was so disappointed in Chavo. He's had 3 matches since he's been in TNA, and all of a sudden he's the we didn't think they were going to do it, but they did it. The XWE guy comes in and he gets the title automatically.
Yeah.
And is it just me? Look, I love Eddie Guerrero, but are they just dropping his name way too much?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just like, really? Do it again, Eddie?
Yeah. Hey, every time you turn around, they're sitting up and they're going with the whole Eddie Guerrero. It's like, what's going to happen next? Are you going to point to the sky when you get that big fat check for your Bound for Glory appearance? Are you going to say, oh, Eddie, this one's for you. Couldn't have done it without you. Personally, it's a little bit conflicting because we just read this article. I want to mention this in a nutshell real quick, and then we want to take the next caller from the 912 area code. Hang tight. Give me like 90 seconds here. I have to make this point because it's a very valid point. we saw this interview from Chavo Guerrero that he gave like about last week or a week and a half ago talking about how, him teaming up with Hernandez, it's so different. It's not like him and Eddie Guerrero. And he was talking about how there really doesn't need to be those type of comparisons made, that basically he is a different man. He's a repackaged guy and, just all this stuff. And then it's like, I've always been the type of person, well, if you're really going to make your own mark and you want to be your own man, you're not going to be relying on stuff from the past, then you know what? Go forward and don't mention the whole what's going on with Eddie and, the whole Guerrero name. Just be about it. I mean, good example, look at Vicky Guerrero. And we know there's a lot of WWE TNA fans. Look at what's happening with Vicky Guerrero. Very seldom does she mention Eddie Guerrero, if you really think about it. Very seldom. And in her own way, she's been able to just really be very successful in the wrestling business. Yeah, she still has that last name, but she's not really pushing it that damn hard. Very curious, though, what would happen if she were to eventually get remarried and she drops that name off. Would she still have that same 1-2 punch that she currently has right now? But that's a person that's really not relying too much on Eddie, that doesn't really speak that much of him. Good point indeed, Dave. Let's go now to the 912 area code. You're live on the air, my friend. Let me know your first name and where you're calling from.
I'm Trey from Savannah.
All right. How you doing tonight, bro?
All right, man. The pay-per-view itself, I say it was pretty decent. Not more than decent. It was great,
Mm-hmm.
I had some parts I didn't like, but a lot of it I did like.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was your favorite match of the night? What was probably your weakest, what you thought might have been the weakest match of the night?
The weakest match of the night for me personally was the Joey Ryan Al Snow match.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like how it really went down. Although, the Matt Market thing, curveball for me, I did not see that coming. I really thought he was, did it gone with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even as close to talking as, Devon being an ace of ace. Again, like you said earlier, maybe he could be later, maybe not. I'll keep up on to that. But that was a real shocker to everybody,
Exactly. Yeah, great shock value. So what would you give the pay-per-view overall?
Out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 9.5.
A 9.5?
Yeah.
I like that. And what'd you say your name was again? Trey? I thought so. Okay. Well, Trey, we definitely appreciate you. You're a first-time caller as far as we know. We appreciate you chiming in your thoughts. And, hey, we hope you liked the post-show. If you did, make sure you follow us and keep track of all the other shows we do. Every Tuesday night, we do the RCWR show, Tuesday Night Wrestling Report, get you guys caught up on the latest in WWE, wrestling-related news. You can catch that every Tuesday night live at 11 p.m. Eastern right here. For you TNA fans, you want that fix, join us for Impact Showdown Radio every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern right here. I think we did a very damn good job tonight with the interactions from you guys, covering tonight's Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Before we go off the air, I got to let you know those results for the overall rating of the pay-per-view. I'm getting ready to pull it up right now, and if you're curious yourself, you can go on into our website right now at infinityOneProductions.com. I personally jumped out there. I gave the pay-per-view a 10 out of 10. I put my vote in there. Let's get one last update before we go. I got the website loading up right now. It's got a little bit of lag over here because I got a couple of programs open here. But let me just share it with you before we go off the air. And there we go. So we asked you all, how would you rate the TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view? And the majority of you all said 10 out of 10, fantastic pay-per-view with 54 votes coming in. 25% of you thought it was a great pay-per-view. You rated it 8 out of 10. Surprisingly, 2 of you came in at 25%. As you said, it was an average pay-per-view, 5 out of 5. But I guess we all can be in agreement it was not a bad pay-per-view whatsoever. Yeah, all right, that's going to do it. Really great interaction on tonight's post-show. I like how we did this. Maybe this is a taste of things to come and how we need to do our post-shows. Maybe shows in general. We'll definitely keep it in mind. In the meantime, the talk of wrestling doesn't stop here. Check us out at InfinityOneProductions.com for all the latest on wrestling-related news and beyond. Befriend us on Twitter at InfinityOneProd. You can befriend me at Mr. Sandman Lee on Twitter. Make sure you like our Facebook page or follow us at Infinity One Productions. Till we hear from you guys this Tuesday night for the RCWR Show Wrestling Report, I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you guys for checking out tonight's show. Really appreciate it. Check us out on the downloads. Mad shout out to our new YouTube subscribers. Thank you guys on Stitcher in advance. We'll see you guys this Tuesday night. Everybody be safe and be kind to one another, folks. Take care.